Jorge Coxaj here. Welcome back. Today's message is guard your heart. The Bible tells us in the book of Proverbs, chapter 4, verse 23, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Now, this is an interesting thought. Everything you do flows from your heart. Now, this is a powerful thought because what it's saying here, and this is wisdom obviously from Solomon. He's trying to help us to navigate life in the best way possible. What he's saying here is profound. Everything you do flows from your heart. So how do we guard our hearts? I think that guarding our hearts comes from guarding your priorities. It comes from guarding the things which you value the most. Now, how do we determine that, right? How do you determine what you're valuing? Because I found that there's a dissonance between what we say we value and what we actually value sometimes. And I'll give you an example. I was watching this show about nannies that come to your house and they help you with your family, right? Like when your kids are unruly, the nanny comes in and steps in and saves the day. Super nanny. And one family that they were working with, I was so judgmental about them. I know that you're not supposed to judge and that there's no sinners watching me, but I'm kidding, guys. It was like, oh my gosh, this guy needed to get it together. Like, what are you doing? And turns out that I found myself doing exactly the same thing that he was doing. So it was a check on me. So this guy, the problem with his family, his kids were constantly fighting. There was one that was like threatening to kill the parents and stuff. They had 4 kids. It was a blended family, a very tumultuous situation, a very tumultuous household. And the guy was always out of the house. His work kept him out in the gym all the time, and when he come home, he would work out even more because of his work. And then when he was done with the workout, he'd be on the computer, or if he had a day off, he'd be on his phone answering text messages and emails and phone calls and all of that stuff. And while that sounds all glamorous, his explanation for his behavior was, I'm doing all of this for my family. Like, I'm doing all of this for my children. Now, the reality was that although he said that was his priority wasn't his kids. His priority was his work. It's what he was doing, was building his empire. And that honest look in the mirror was a big challenge for him. And it's a challenge for all of us, I'd say, to really take a look at ourselves and our lives and determine whether or not we are actually valuing by our actions demonstrating what we value. In the case of this person, his actions were not showing what he valued. His actions were showing that he valued his work, not his family, not his children, because all of the time was dedicated to his work. And whenever he had a free time and a free space, instead of connecting with them, he was working. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with working, of course not. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, the Bible tells us that we need to be working, that we need to be doing stuff. And honestly, like, I can't even think of not working. Like, I love what I do and I love doing it and I love being at work. However, our priorities will be manifested by our actions. Our actions will show us what we really value, what we are actually valuing. And so if you value your kids and you value your family, what will show whether or not that's the case will be what you do. It'll be your actions. So what are your actions telling you today about what you value? Now, the Bible tells us that where our treasure is, that's where our heart will be. So what we treasure determines where our heart is. And if we are guarding our hearts, as Proverbs is advising us to do, we need to make sure that we make a clear decision as to where that treasure is. And then, based on that decision of what we treasure and what we need to analyze the actions that will reflect that. And let me tell you, it's not easy, all right? I get it. I work a lot, and people have called me a workaholic once or twice in my life. I get that. But carving out time just like we carve out times for the phone calls that we have to make, for the meetings that we have to have, for, in my case, the websites that I need to program and the videos I need to edit, whatever, I need to carve out time for those things, for my clients and for the work that I'm doing. I also need to carve out time for my family and put it in the calendar and say, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to treasure. If that's what I'm going to value. What are you valuing? What are you putting more time and attention to? Or what is it that you want to value and you want to put more time and attention to? The point is, we can't just walk around life frivolously without analyzing these things. We have to think about it. We have to ask those questions, and then we have to make decisions about what actions will lead us to reflecting that which we value. So guard your heart. Put value and time into the things that are most important to you. Make that decision. And it's crazy because I think about the most valuable thing that we have. The most valuable thing that we have is our time, right? Because that's the only thing that we can't renew. We can't buy more time. So where our time goes is going to reflect what we value. So one way to guard your heart is to think about where your time is going, and then deciding whether or not that's where you want the time to go. And maybe some things need to change. Maybe some plans need to be moved. Maybe some projects need to be put to the side or dropped in order to prioritize the things which value the most. Whatever the case, you need to make that decision. So I hope this helps you. May God bless you, and may you guard your heart.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you were blessed by the material. We also want to remind you that there are several great ways to make sure you're staying up to date on our content as part of our 360 Legacy Plan. First, subscribe to this channel by clicking subscribe below. You can also download our incredible new app in the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. Just search Legacy Minded Men. And finally, visit our website at legacymindedmen.org for more information on what we believe, upcoming events, and how to join a group. Thanks again for watching.